Hello everyone, Charles Watts here, the Arsenal correspondent at Goal, joining you on Monday, the start of another week, half-term week. So if you, like me, have a couple of young kids tearing the house up for the next week or so, then good luck to you. Obviously, season is pretty much absolutely done and dusted with now. I think the last time I spoke to you obviously was halfway through last week. We've had the Champions League final since then. We've had the Championship playoff final since then. We now know Nottingham Forest will be in the Premier League. We now know that Real Madrid are European champions. Congratulations to them. Dreadful scenes at the Stade de France before the game on Saturday. I find it absolutely mad how many people seem to be, or football fans on social media seem to be sort of trying to blame Liverpool fans and things like that, when all the accounts of so many people who were there, so many completely neutral journalists were there, even, you know, the journalists from France as well, all pointing the finger of blame at the authorities, the police, for how it was all handled. And yet football fans still seem to want to try and blame Liverpool because they're not their team and things like that, when, you know, if anyone has been over and experienced away trips in foreign countries, certainly in France, where the police can be so heavy-handed. I mean, it was just dreadful management. It was so lucky no one got seriously hurt, and so thankful Liverpool fans managed to get back all right without any really serious injuries or worse. Something that has to be looked at, and I'm glad to see all the pressure that's been put on it now, certainly over here, because UEFA, the police, French authorities, all trying to point the finger of blame at Liverpool fans. I think it's a disgrace. But anyway, just wanted to get that off my chest, because I know a lot of people were there, a lot of journalists were there, and I've been told exactly how scary it was. So just glad everyone was safe. But anyway, congratulations to Real Madrid, European champions again. I mean, what a way to do it this year. All those teams they beat, amazing run to the final. Hopefully one day we'll see Arsenal there. I think that's a little bit way off, obviously, Europa League football for them next season. Anyway, enough of that, a little bit of a waffle at the start of the video. Let's talk about Arsenal matters, shall we? Transfers dominating as usual. Although saying that, at the moment, it is actually a little bit quiet. We're in a little bit of a lull. I think, like I said, it's very much kind of off-season now. Everyone's having a little break. All the players away. Mikel Arteta's on holiday at the moment. I think Edu's back in Brazil. I think everyone's having a tiny little bit of downtime. That's not to say they're not going to be working, because they will be. Certainly Arteta and Edu, there's no way they won't have their phones on. They won't be doing an awful lot of stuff, but they are having a bit of downtime, as most of the football world is. Not seeing too many transfers apart from Aston Villa at the moment. Gabriel Jesus to Arsenal, that continues to be the big one, the one that is dominating a lot of newspaper column inches, that sort of thing. His agent's been talking recently. He's kind of pointing to the fact that Jesus is now over with the Brazil national team, and his future will be decided once that trip with the national team is over. Now they've got a few games coming up. Brazil, I think they play South Korea, Japan, Argentina over the next couple of weeks. Arsenal's Gabriel is over there at the moment as well, the centre back. And he's been talking, actually, he was asked a question, I think, by the Brazilian media over there about Jesus possibly joining him at Arsenal. He said, "We joke around about it a lot in the dressing room, but there's nothing certain yet. Of course, he's a quality player, and if he goes to Arsenal, he would help us a lot." Which I think is absolutely bang on. I think he would help Arsenal a lot. But I think it's just a bit of a waiting game when it comes to Jesus at the moment. Once the Brazil sort of national team link-up is over, once these games are out the way, I think they're just kind of World Cup warm-up matches really ahead of Qatar for Brazil. Once those are out the way, then his future will be really, really sorted. His agent has been over in the UK. He has been sitting down talking to Manchester City, trying to work out exactly what's going on, how much money Manchester City are going to want. I'm sure Manchester City, there had been kind of stuff about, I'm sure, and this is me presuming, it's a hunch that, you know, maybe Manchester City might have said, look, he could stay, we could offer him this in terms of a new contract, but certainly by all accounts from people close to Jesus, it seems like he is now willing to move on with Haaland coming in, and it's very unlikely he would sign a new contract. We know that Arsenal are interested in him. We know those talks have been going on for a long, long time between Arsenal and Jesus' representatives. And it's just a case of waiting until this international break's over and then trying to get it done. I think it's something Arsenal will try and do very early in the window if they can. So, it's just a case of they wouldn't necessarily have to wait for Jesus to get back to sort things out at Manchester City. You know, that could be happening kind of now. But, you know, once the player's back from international duty, that's when you could sort out the whole medical type thing if it gets to that stage, which, you know, certainly I'm not aware that it has yet. But that's a situation where we are with Jesus. So just a little bit of a waiting game at the moment, as have to be patient, which I know isn't always the case, isn't always easy to be when you're in the transfer window, but I think just a little bit of patience at the moment when it comes to him. Oleksandr Zinchenko, this is a really interesting one. Now, Arsenal are interested in Oleksandr Zinchenko, certainly from people who speak to up in the north, in and around Manchester City. There has been interest in expressed by Arsenal in Zinchenko. It's an interesting one, this. I've been talking to a few other sort of Arsenal journalists who are covering the beat, and we were just kind of talking about where exactly would see Zinchenko fit in if Arsenal stepped up this interest. Now, that's all it is at the moment. It's interest. It hasn't gone any further than that. And where, would this be a good sign? And would Zinchenko even want to come to Arsenal? Because, I don't know, and this is what I was saying in this conversation with some of the other Arsenal reporters, that I'm not sure where Zinchenko fits in. Would he be a guaranteed starter at Arsenal? I don't think. I can't see that he would be. He can play in midfield, and by all accounts, again, when you speak to people up in Manchester who are more aware of what's gone on with Zinchenko, they believe that Arsenal see him more as a midfielder than a left back. But obviously, he could fill in at left back, and that would be excellent competition for Kieran Tierney, and excellent cover for Kieran Tierney, especially with the amount we know that Tierney does miss games through injury. But they see him more as a midfielder, and that's where I don't quite see him fitting in. And because we know Arteta's going to play this 4-3-3 formation, we've seen it move away from the sort of 4-2-3-1 towards the end of the season. So that will be Thomas Partey when he's fit holding in the holding role, and then you've got the sort of further forward on the left, further forward on the right, the kind of number 8 type roles, whatever you want to call them, and that's where Odegaard's going to fill one of those roles, definitely on the right hand side. So you're kind of looking at the number 8 left hand side, and that's where you'd presume Zinchenko would be. But I don't know, would he be a guaranteed starter at Arsenal? Is that much of an improvement? I'm not sure it would be, and he's not even a sort of natural. I know he plays there for Ukraine a lot of the time, but it's just, I'm not sure. I don't see him being a guaranteed starter, and so why would you swap Manchester City, where you're not a guaranteed starter, to come to Arsenal, where you're not a guaranteed starter? It's just it feels like a little bit of a strange one for me. But perhaps Arsenal would be offering him the position as a guaranteed starter. Perhaps that's what they view him as. They think he'd come in and that's perfect role for him, and it'd be a big improvement. Because granted, Xhaka's been playing there. We know it's not Xhaka's ideal position. Far from it. I said before, I still wouldn't be surprised if Xhaka went in this window. Possibly that might be it. Maybe if Xhaka's going to go, they're going to get Zinchenko and another Yuri Tielemans. We know Arsenal very much interested in him and hoping to sign him this summer. So possibly that's it. It would be a case of Xhaka out and Zinchenko and Tielemans in to kind of add to the squad depth. But it's just that whole thing in my mind of, if Zinchenko's not going to be a guaranteed starter at City, then why would he swap that to not be a guaranteed starter at Arsenal? Surely you'd rather stay at Manchester City, where you're going to play, clearly, and you're in the Champions League. So, we'll wait and see. I wouldn't be against the signing by any means. I think Zinchenko's an excellent player, and like I said, if you've got him, and you can play him in midfield, but you've also got him to provide real sort of top quality cover for Kieran Tierney, which we've shown is needed this season, because although Tavares started pretty well, he certainly struggled towards the end of the season, didn't he, and became a little bit of a liability. So maybe Arsenal have looked at that and thought we need stronger cover for Kieran Tierney over there, given the amount of games he misses, and Zinchenko would certainly provide that. We've seen how much of an impact he's made at Manchester City when he has had a chance this season. I mean, it was key to them turning things around in that final game of the season when they won the league title, when he came off the bench and pretty much transformed that game. And you speak to people at Manchester, they absolutely rave about Zinchenko in terms of his work ethic, in terms of what he brings, his professionalism and his quality. So I wouldn't be against it by any means. It's just in my mind, I keep thinking, why would he want to swap Man City for Arsenal? And look, that's not having a dig at Arsenal. All know how much what I think about Arsenal. But as a footballer, you're in this great Man City team. You are playing. You may not be a starter, but you are playing, and you're playing at the top level. You're playing in the Champions League. Would you really give that up to come to Arsenal, where you're not guaranteed starter? I'm just not sure. But hey, maybe it's the sway of Mikel Arteta. We'll have to wait and see on that one. But it's an interesting sort of reports, rumours at the moment with that one. So let me know what you guys think on that. Zinchenko, would you be for that signing? Do you think he's good enough to be a guaranteed starter at Arsenal, or like me, do you think he's just doesn't quite fit all in? It's not one that I just immediately think that's definitely going to happen, but interesting reports nonetheless, and certainly, like I said, from those in and around Manchester City, that they believe it is genuine that Arsenal are interested in Oleksandr Zinchenko. 2 years left on his contract as well, so I don't think it'd be cheap. It's not a case of sort of getting him out there for relatively cheap just because he's got 1 year left on his deal. Or Arsenal would have to pay a fair bit of money, I imagine, for Zinchenko. So interesting. But City do want Mark Cucurella apparently over at Brighton, who's been very good this season as well. Great against Arsenal in that game at the Amex earlier in the season. So maybe if City are so keen to bring him in, that they will do a little bit of a better deal when it comes to Zinchenko. Again, this is all going to end up coming out over the course of the next few weeks as the transfer window hots up. Okay, finally, I wanted to talk a little bit about Bernd Leno at the moment. It's all a little bit quiet when it comes to Bernd Leno. We know he is pretty much certain to leave Arsenal this summer. Arsenal signed Matt Turner. He's going to be coming in, the US national team goalkeeper. He's going to be coming in and will be number 2 to Aaron Ramsdale next season. That was kind of brought in because everyone at the club's expecting Leno to go. I believe that Leno's kind of said his goodbyes at the end of the season around London Colney. No one's expecting Bernd Leno to come back for next season. He wants to go. He wants to try and play somewhere so he can get himself into the World Cup squad at the end of the year, because he's lost his place in the squad. Not surprisingly at the moment, because he hasn't been playing for Arsenal. But you're not really hearing lots and lots of stuff about where Leno could go. It sounds like Benfica are interested in Leno. It's going to be really interesting how much money Arsenal can get for him, because you don't want to be giving someone like Bernd Leno away. And I saw a good piece, Andrew over at Arsblog wrote a column on it, I saw a couple of days ago, about how it will be an interesting one for Edu, and a big job for Edu to try and get a decent amount of money for Leno, because you don't want to get fleeced for a goalkeeper like Leno, who's not old by goalkeeper standard by any means. He's an international goalkeeper. He's been very good for Arsenal. Unlucky to lose his place in the team. I mean, Ramsdale came in, was great, but at the time, he'd just come off a brilliant season. Bernd Leno, I think he was player of the season. And that year, it was great until we got injured and Martinez came in as well. So, he's been a very good servant for Arsenal. He cost a lot of money. He cost around 20-odd million to 25 million. I can't remember the exact figure. And yes, he's only got a year left in his deal, but you don't want to be giving away for 3 or 4 million like we've seen Arsenal do time and time again when it comes to players in the recent past. You've got to get a little bit of money into the club. The issue is obviously no one's got much money across Europe, aside from clubs in England, and it doesn't look likely that Leno's going to stay in England. No one seems to have expressed much of an interest. There was reported rumours of Newcastle interest in January. That never materialised. It doesn't sound like that's going to carry on in the summer. So he's probably going to have to go abroad, and there's not much money abroad aside from the few obvious clubs like PSG, Madrid and Barcelona. But you want to get decent cash still. You can't just be giving him away. So it's going to be really interesting to see how Edu does when it comes to the Bernd Leno transfer fee that comes in when it inevitably will. You've got to be looking surely at around at least 10 million for Leno. Even that's going to be a big financial hit on what you paid for him to bring him in for Bayer Leverkusen. But you do have to take the contract situation into account, and you do have to take, in some ways, the financial situation of clubs across Europe into account. But you don't want to be absolutely losing money hand over fist when it comes to him. So it's going to be really interesting to see the job Edu does when it comes to bringing in cash for Bernd Leno. He will be going. I can't see there's any way he's going to stay. Like I said, all the expectation is at Arsenal with Leno, staff around the club, is that Leno is gone. He said his goodbyes. It's just a case of getting the transfer fee in for him. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting one with that. And it's getting a similar situation with the likes of Hector Bellerin, who's he's finished his loan at Real Betis. He wants to go back to Betis. Betis want to sign him, but again, money's going to be the issue there. Can Betis afford him? Can they afford his wages? Still got a year left on his contract for Arsenal. What will Arsenal do? Will they look to try and get some sort of transfer fee for Bellerin, or will they just try and, what they've done with so many other players recently, kind of just accept they're not going to get any fee for him and kind of help him move on and get a deal done somewhere else? So lots and lots of work for Edu to do this summer, not just on incomings, outgoings as well. It's going to be an incredibly busy summer. There's contract situations that need to be resolved. So while we're in a little bit of a lull, as I said at the start of this video, it's all going to kick off fairly soon, and there's going to be an awful lot of work to be done by Arsenal and a lot of business to be done. And going to be an interesting one to keep an eye on. Thank you very much for watching, everyone. Anything that I've said, reported in this video, please do let me know if you agree with it, disagree with it. Do you want Jesus signed? Do you want Bellerin to go? Do you want Leno to go? Zinchenko? All of it. Just hit me down in the comments below so I can go through and see what you guys are thinking. Have a very good start to the week. Appreciate you watching as always. I'll speak to you soon.